dive watch that people could own for not a lot of scratch.
Yeah.
Very popular. They did great by it. And you know,
sorry, yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
This has just popped into my mind. Was it technically the first homage?
I would, it's a very good question, and I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, it probably is.
Did they invent the homage watch?
Could you imagine if they did? They're the homage pioneers.
Well, in that case, they got nothing but respect from me because that's genius. It's like... Okay, hi guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Watch Talk. Another episode with my good friend Marc from Long Island Watch. If you're not familiar with Marc, well, you should be by now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm still, every video I say the same thing. I'm doing very good. How are you?
Good. I'm much more relaxed.
Good.
So it'll probably be a worse episode now.
You're better under pressure?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Right, so today we're going to talk about 10 watch brands that we both feel were better before. A little bit controversial, but...
It could be.
It could be.
But it's all in fun.
Yeah, and guys, don't take this too seriously, okay? But I think by doing this, and when I was doing my research, I started to realize it's actually quite a good thing because it speaks... Well, you guys will see in a moment. Basically, the brands could learn from this. I believe.
They could, if they wanted to.
If they wanted to,
right?
Yeah.
Or if maybe your opinion and my opinion are just totally off the wall. Again, we live in this microcosm of watches, and they don't care about what you and I think. They only care about is what makes this.
Of course,
right?
Of course, yeah. Right, wristwatch check first of all.
Oh, okay. So it is beautiful today, so I am going. God. I'll show you the Squally-Matic on the white rubber.
Cuspida.
Because it feels the weather is getting warmer. The last time we filmed, I was freezing. Yeah. This time it's nicer. And then on my other, I am wearing. I'll show you. I'm sorry.
I know that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, my Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine chronometer. So a little blue, a little white today. How about you?
Gorgeous. Very summery. I just switched. I was wearing the Dan Henry 1962, but the strap, goes to show how fussy I am. The strap didn't match the jumper. So
I understand.
So I'm wearing flighty. I just thought,
why not?
It out on the NDC. Yeah, perfect combination.
We probably won't discuss it this video, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every other video.
Yeah, that's true. Now, this doesn't need to be in order of importance. We're just going to number it to keep track. Okay?
Sure.
I mean, unless you did it,
No, I just kind of, I kind of have an order that I'll do at least two of them in, but other than that, I am just going to fly by the seat of my pants.
Nice.
If that's okay with you. Oh, I have to do a hoodie check.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Because today I'm wearing...
Oh, look at that.
Okay, on the arm.
Oh, look at that.
I think it's on the back too. This is a guy that works for me, bought like one of those custom ink deals. He got like 8 or 9 of them, and so I said I'll wear it for the video. So
that is very comfortable. Cool.
Yeah.
I love the white and the blue.
The white and the blue works perfect, and
it does,
and especially with this watch.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
See, I matched today. Normally I don't care.
Nice.
But today it worked. But this was just a mistake.
Right. A happy accident.
Exactly.
Oh, and we might as well do a check on the old Instagram.
I have a surprise for you.
Oh, yeah.
I froze this thing last night because I had a feeling it was going to crest 45,000. So I will unpause it now to real time.
Right.
So it will go within the next couple of minutes. So whatever we're talking about, we might have to stop and just watch it.
Nice.
Okay.
Very cool.
But it will go. So your viewer, none of my viewers have ever seen it. So your viewers are
okay.
the
Cool.
first
Thank
to
you
get
so
this
much.
cool one. So, but don't worry, you won't have to look for it. You'll hear it.
Right. And guys, do follow Marc. I'll leave the links down below. Let's get him up there. Okay. Let's
trying.
get him up there.
Do you want me to go first? Usually you do.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Please.
There it goes. Do you see it? Your view, the video will be better that comes through. It's not for you.
That is sick.
Now I'm gonna freeze it again because it's gonna go the whole video. Well,
Got almost to a round number as well. That's
there we go. So there you go. Now everybody got to see it.
fantastic. You know what it reminds me of? It's a bit like the old train stations.
It's the Penn Station flip sign. It's exactly what it is for the Long Island Railroad or whatever. Yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me of. So cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
that is.
I'm glad it worked. And 45,000.
Nice. Congratulations.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm going first.
Go for it.
Okay. So I have notes. So I usually don't have a lot of notes, but so brand number one. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking Concord. I'm going to read a lot from my notes, actually. But Concord started in 1908, which I actually didn't know they were that old. 1970, purchased by North American Watch Company, which was later rebranded as Movado. So you kind of see where that story is going.
Right.
So I actually have two Concords because they're both my father's. But this is my Mariner SG. I'll show you.
Oh, I love that.
So
it's very
it is-
Genta-esque, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There we go. Focus. It's very thin. Yes, it is.
Very
It's got
nice.
that octagonal case or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are both circa early 80s or so. And then I've got what they call the Delirium, which is also very thin, extremely thin quartz dress
Those
watch.
are really nice.
Yeah, they
Sorry, did you
are.
say that was your dad's?
Both of them were.
Right.
There we go. They were both my father's. He was obviously a Concord fan. He knew something. So they were known in the 70s and 80s for producing luxury quartz watches, which is kind of what those are. I mean, they're not inexpensive. They're not super expensive. They did make some stuff that was really pricey, but they were known for doing that. They also did the Centurion watch, which, the Piaget Polo, the one with those stripes on it? Okay.
Yeah.
So they made their own version of it, kind of like a side version.
Nice.
Very popular as well. In the 80s, they produced some of the most expensive quartz wristwatches out there. So think about it. Quartz crisis
didn't
is
know that.
starting, and they now start flooding quartz with expensive quartz. Now they're going up against, your oyster quartz and all these other expensive quartz watches. They were the first company to make watches out of coins. They have coin watches. So,
yes, I remember. Yeah.
They made these really cool coin watches. This watch that I showed you, this is 1.5 millimeters thick. Crazy quartz engineering. I mean, think about the battery. The battery is about 1 millimeter thick, so you don't leave much room for hands, dial, and everything else. But the downfall in the 90s, they kind of disappeared. They didn't really keep up with expensive quartz offerings. Didn't remain popular at all. They didn't really dabble too much in the automatic movement world. They really fell out of favor. And then
Is this because of mechanical watches were becoming
Yes, because they were really known for their quartz. And then, you had the quartz crisis, but also you had cheap autos coming out in the, late 80s, early 90s. Brand totally fell out of fashion, fell out of style. I think they lacked, this is not my summation, they lacked innovation entirely. They were so great to do the coin watch, these really thin quartz dress watches, really nice pieces, but then they kind of just, they didn't do anything good. And when you go to their website now, you kind of see some decent stuff, but how often do you hear someone say, I just bought a new Concord? I mean, I guess you really don't. And it's kind of sad. I feel like they were way better in the 70s and the 80s than they are now. Most Concords you see actually are on the vintage market still.
Right. I might be wrong about this, but were they kind of popular in the kind of Wall Street yuppie?
I would say yes, because mainly of their price point. So, like in the 80s or so, they had some of the most expensive quartz watches out there. So I would say that is affirmative.
Right. Interesting. So what are they doing now?
Not much. There's some in the auto market, but I would say because they fall under that Movado umbrella, I would say they're not really being marketed. You don't see much marketing going around the brand. Right now, they're kind of just subsisting, and I'm actually surprised that someone hasn't come in and bought the brand name and started manufacturing watches, maybe with a little more high Swiss falutency. Than, is that a word?
Nicely put. No, it's perfect.
They're kind of ripe for the picking, Not that Movado is a schlock brand. It's not. But, most people consider Movado the museum watch. That's what everybody thinks about.
Well, there's another perfect brand.
That would have been... But, I find that Movado, though, has done stuff in the auto market, and they've kind of made some kind of interesting pieces lately. Still kind of innovating, but everyone knows them as the black watch with the gem at the 12.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they kind of oversaturated the market a little bit.
Oh, big time. I remember there was like $800 quartz watches back in the early 90s, late 80s. I was like, wow, people were buying these, and they were.
But they made some stunning pieces back. I mean, really, at the beginning of the 20th century. It's funny, neither of us mentioned. Well, I haven't chosen.
I thought about Movado, and I was like, they aren't out of the limelight yet, and they're still really popular. Although I guess some of the brands I'm going to mention are still extremely popular, but I feel like they've gone a different way.
Right.
Lost their way, maybe. Lost what I consider their way. They may like their way. Yeah. I don't like their way.
No, me neither. I prefer old Movado. But yeah, great pick.
Thank you.
Okay, so my number one, and it's perfectly. It's like you have your father's watch. It's perfectly demonstrated by this, which is my little dress watch. This is a Adumar Piguet.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Very nice.
The epitome of a dress watch. Very thin, mechanical movement. It's actually based on the JLC. Simple, two-hander.
Right.
Like it comes on this beautiful suede strap in gold. Doesn't announce its presence. It's just
understated and simple.
Exactly. To me, in my opinion, what a dress watch should be.
Sure.
Right? And I love AP. And don't get me wrong, guys, because I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for people. Oh, but you love the Royal Oak and you love modern. I do love AP. I still do love AP, but I think they were better before.
Right. I get it.
Right.
I get it.
And look, part of the Holy Trinity, founded in 1875. What I like about them is they're still family owned through the generations, which is unheard of.
Right.
Well, very, very rare.
A lot of them change hands, yeah.
Exactly. I've got written here in my notes some of their achievements. The first minute repeater in 1892.
Wow.
The thinnest automatic tourbillon in 1986. The first skeleton watch in 1934. And then, of course, we all know the Royal Oak in 1972. Genta completely changing the super luxury watch world with this steel sports watch, and it changed the whole direction almost of the industry.
Yeah, I would say so.
But there we have the gift and the curse of the Royal Oak. Yeah, because now it's synonymous with.
It defines them.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a gift and a curse because I love the Royal Oak. I owned one. I probably will own one again at some point. But it's the whole brand is overshadowed by it.
Right.
And you forget that they made beautiful little watches like this is actually a pre-Genta from the 50s.
Okay.
Now in 2019 they tried to bring back more of their classical watchmaking. I mean they have their millinery watches and they released, what was it? Let me just check. It was the most stupid name for a watch. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's called the Code 11.59, right? Which is not a memorable name for a watch line, right?
Right.
And some of them are okay. I like the tourbillon ones and they have interesting designs. But the simple, 3 hands with a date, simple, right? Which starts off, I think, upper 20s, almost 30 grand, right? Mm-hmm. Which it looks like a fashion watch,
right?
And it's just, I'm sorry, AP, I do apologize, I don't like it, and I was so disappointed because I knew they were going to do something,
right?
But that's not going to get back this wonderful era of classic dress
and
watches.
When did this come out?
2019.
Okay.
Now, if you remember the episode when we did Best Watches 2020, I talked about their the remaster collection, right?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that gorgeous 1940s.
That was really nice.
Chronograph, gorgeous. It's my kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they only made 500, and it cost 55 grand.
Not a watch for the masses.
No, not a watch. I mean, okay, look, it's a luxury brand. I know, it's not exactly. It's just. I'll give you an example. Have you ever watched Scrooged with Bill Murray? Yeah.
Yep.
He wears this perpetual calendar.
Okay.
Right. Super thin, automatic, beautiful. 4 subdials, enamel dial, beautiful thing. 34 millimeters. Very, this is the classic.
Right.
Those you can still get for about 15 grand, right?
Right.
And I know that sounds like a lot for everybody, right? But for a perpetual calendar, that thin, precious metal. I mean, I wish they'd bring more of this back.
But is that what the people want? And I guess that's.
No,
that's a question,
they want more
right?
Royal Oaks, and
they want offshore.
Yeah.
They want Arnie wearing the 55 millimeter. You're right.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know, my sensibilities are a bit more traditional. Maybe I'm dated. I don't know.
Old-fashioned taste,
maybe, yeah. But I mean, I'll still wear this.
Right.
I just got. I get it. This was a gift for me. And I just wish they'd tap into this. Like, what I love about this is that. There's tons of these, of these forgotten, beautiful designs. Why don't they draw from that and make something a little bit more accessible?
Right. I get it. I
guess they don't have to.
They don't have to.
No.
I'm sure they're. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how they're doing. They're not a public company, so you'll never know. But I get it. Yeah. I gather they're doing okay.
Judging by the fact that the prices of APs. And I'm talking about Royal Oaks, because I'm always checking.
Right.
I'm dreaming.
Just in case.
Yeah. I think they're doing fine. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Go for it.
My numero dos.
Yes.
A brand that I actually didn't know a lot about, but I knew enough about them that I knew they had changed over the years. Benrus. So, because I carried Benrus.
Right.
4 or 5 years ago. I knew the brand Benrus. I knew it wasn't the Benrus that existed 100 years ago.
Right.
But I still wanted to try it out. I knew it was just a name changing hand, somebody trading on the name basically.
Yeah.
Buys the naming rights. Anyway, so Benrus, really cool. Founded 1921 in New York City.
Yes, yeah.
Headquarters in the Hippodrome, which is now home to the jewelry district on 6th Avenue.
Right.
So many things I didn't know about them. They're on 6th Avenue, which we call the Diamond District area.
Yeah, right.
On 6th. Do you remember those days when you were a Manhattanite?
Oh, yeah. I used to go there all the time. I used to buy and sell, yeah.
Great window shopping there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it still is, but crazy what you see in the window there.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just writing this down. Benrus.
Sponsored The Wizard of Oz when it was on TV, which is really cool. Charles Lindbergh wore one. Babe Ruth wore one.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is a brand with freaking history.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Okay, so as we all know, then basically was military watches.
Yeah.
From World War II through Vietnam, the Sky Chief watch, which basically became the official airline watch for aviation in the military and in the commercial world. It was a really cool chrono. World War II, the U.S. government asked them to manufacture timing systems for munitions. Stop with the watches and clocks. We really need you to make fuses. So they got into the fuse market. This was something I'd never heard of. This was really cool. 1950s, they tried to take over Hamilton. Okay?
Interesting.
I'm going to read because I have to.
Yeah, go for it.
It's such a convoluted story.
Okay.
So by the beginning of the 1950s, Benrus had overtaken Hamilton and had grown to become the third largest watch company in the U.S. besides Bulova and
Nice callback, nice.
and Elgin.
Right.
They did not have a watch that was more than 17 jewels, and all their watches were between 25 and 70 bucks. So they're like, well, we want to go up market. So they started buying Hamilton stock.
Wow.
And by the time Hamilton caught on to them, they'd owned like 10 to 15% of the company's stock, and they'd started to instill their own board members on the board.
Oh,
and
my God.
the whole thing went to court, and basically it was failed. You know, antitrust laws came into effect, and they said, you can't do that. So it was very interesting. In the 60s, they got into self-winding watches. In the 70s, you'll Google this one, Type 1 and Type 2 dive watches, really popular. They almost look marathon-esque now.
Yeah.
Very simple, unbranded dial watches.
Right.
What the hell happened to them? 1967, they got sold off because cheap Japanese watches and cheap Timex watches, basically the Timex automatic, Timex mechanicals, killed them because the Timex was selling watches for like $1.
Yeah, the pin and pin and plate.
The pin escapement.
Yeah, that's it.
Super cheap escapement with like no jewels.
Yeah.
So that kind of did them in, and that was too bad because here there was such a large supplier to the military, making really cool looking watches.
What date was that? When the Timex was?
They were sold off in 1967.
Okay.
And then ever since then, they kind of never got their footing back. The lore is that the cheap Japanese watches were flooding the market. That killed them.
Yeah.
Timex killed them. And then in 1977, they went Chapter 11.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
And then since then, they were bought by Gruen. They've been
There's another one.
Yeah, just kind of off and on sales.
Yeah.
And now I'm pretty sure they're owned by MZ Berger. And so I went to go see, and this has really got me sad. I went to go see, because I know Benrus, the name is still around. So now, it was founded by a pair of brothers. I want to say it's Benjamin Lazarus. Benrus is a contraction of Benjamin Lazarus and his brothers.
Right.
So the brand, the name has been bought. Right, so now people manufacturing Benrus watches are just they own the trademark. I looked, they have, it's a revival of old designs. You can get one with a Play Me Oda movement for $900.
Right, yeah, that's good.
And I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God, this is just, talk about trading on name. That's all you're trading on. And, it's a watch that should probably be about $100 or $125.
Something's a bit off here.
It is a bit off. It's, the company that owns the trademark now is basically it's a fashion brand company, and they're just trying to in your brain evoke Benrus. I remember Benrus, or maybe not you or me, but maybe our parents or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember Benrus from the 40s and 50s, and I don't think it's working out for them. I wouldn't know, but definitely another brand that lost its way and is nowhere near what it used to be.
Yeah, it's such a shame because they got so much history, like you said.
I couldn't believe it. When I started reading the history, I was like, I have founded in New York City. How much more of a New York company can you get besides Belova?
Yeah.
Really? Sorry.
No, it's fine. I love it.
It's always going to stick with me.
No, I love it. The thing is, it will take a lot of investment because you'd have to get a marketing team in there. You'd have to get a really good watch designer or team to put something that, you see, if let's say I had $10 million,
right,
you could do it. It needs investment, but will you get your money back? Who knows? But having a rich history like that is a gold mine because you can go back and look at designs. You can use the story.
Open the archives.
Exactly.
Open the archives. They could, in my opinion, they could be a marathon.
Yeah.
They could be a marathon, making the Navigator, making the G-Star, the mid-size. They could really do those designs, and you put the Benrus name on it, and you got some good competition.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I think it's funny that you mentioned Timex because they're kind of doing that. They're doing the right way. Spoilers. Sorry. Okay, no more.
Go.
Right, next, I've got another one from the Watch Vault. Here we go. There we go. So, I wore this in an episode. Do you remember my little Seamaster?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Little 1950s.
Love it.
again, my choice is probably going to ruffle a few feathers, but there's a reason I have this Omega and not a modern Omega, and it's because, first of all, I love Omega. My first luxury watch was the Bond, you know, the blue, Pierce Brosnan, GoldenEye. You know, so I love modern Omega, the METAS testing that they do. You know, I just reviewed the modern Constellation. Amazing, amazing watches. So please do not take offense. But personally, I love the period from the post-war up until, and it was a kind of crescendo with the Trinity release in 1957. The Seamaster went from that finally to a dive watch.
Right.
I don't have to go into the history of Omega. We all know it. But what makes it so compelling is that in true traditional mechanical watchmaking, they earned a reputation during the war, supplying the majority of watches for the British Ministry of Defence. And the reliability, especially the 30T2 movement that you can find in my Spitfire watch that I've reviewed many times, famously worn, same caliber but with the Weems style rotating bezel in the film Dunkirk, worn by Tom Hardy. That was the progenitor for an entire line of calibers, a family of calibers that would really cement Omega's reputation as a reliable, tough, quality Swiss, you know.
Right.
And then that whole period, you've got the first Constellation in 1952, which are just beautiful.
Nice, very nice.
The Seamaster line was introduced in 1948, based on the watches from World War II. There's something about their design language that winning so many awards, chronometer trials, all this kind of stuff. I don't think the brand will ever outshine this golden era, right? And we could attribute its slight, not demise, because they're doing really well, but the quartz crisis is not to blame here. They did do some really strange things in the quartz crisis, and it put the brand back, and it allowed Rolex to take the lead. Because I think in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, Omega were up there, just as good as Rolex, or probably even better. Another argument we're not going to get into, but yeah, there's something compelling about it, and I you know, when I put this on and I look at the movement in here, it's so beautiful. It's they're just solid watches. Anyway, I think the mistake they did was Rolex focused on making the best chronometer certified mechanical watches to try and compete with the quartz crisis. Yes, they made their oyster quartz and all of that too. But Omega spent way too much huge research and development into trying to compete with the Japanese at making a better quartz. And they did. They made some amazing, the F4 something hertz. I've done a video. I should know this. I've just done a review and I talked about it. And that's a big mistake. You're going to take the Japanese on at their own game.
Right, no, that's not going to happen. Not in mass production, it's not going to happen. No.
So, and yeah, they I think they overkill on the Plo Prof. I mean, amazing watch, but I mean, I can only imagine the cost of undertaking some kind of, you know, these very deep diving watches while doing this super quartz. Anyway, they are back on track now. Now they're doing, because also these everything was proprietary made, all in-house. Now they are doing it again. Of course, they got the coaxial, which, you know...
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is really, really cool.
But that's old already, if you think about it. Coaxial escapements came out, is that 90s? I mean, that's... Yeah. That's old.
They are finally completely in-house again. You know, but it's taken, what, half a century?
Right.
You know? So that's, in my opinion...
I know they're doing a lot of stuff by machine now, believe it or not. A lot of things that used to be reserved for people. They've also invested heavily in very high precision machinery, almost like pick and place components for.
I've seen those robots, right?
Yeah, it'll pick up a hand, and so it's perfection every time. The thing that bothers me about the brand is that the Speedmaster is just friggin' enough of the watch already.
Yeah,
talk about riding a winning horse. I mean, come on.
I know.
And again, I could probably catch flack for it. I own a Speedy Reduced.
No, I totally agree.
Every year,
totally
we redid it. What did you do? We changed the bracelet. Well, good for you. I mean, I guess Rolex, because Rolex is kind of guilty of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I just that doesn't do it for me.
I know. I totally get it. And I love the Speedmaster. It is, if not, I think we did a poll with the Gentry a while ago, and it was the number one most I asked what the most iconic watch was.
Iconic, yeah, Speed. I would say so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That helps.
Anyway, back to you, sir.
So back to what you were saying before. I'm on Timex now.
Oh, okay, nice.
And I sell Timex, and I sell them quite successfully.
Oh, you an AD for them now?
Yes, I am.
I forgot.
And
yeah, cool.
That's okay. Don't feel bad. But they definitely have a very rich history. Started out as Waterbury Clock Company up in Waterbury, Connecticut, 1854.
Yeah,
so,
jeez.
Yeah, it's 170, 180 years ago. So this one got me. I did not know this. In 1901, they had a pocket watch they sold for $1.
Oh my God! Yeah,
$1 mechanical pocket watch for $1.
Yeah,
so amazing they were doing that. Mickey Mouse, they were like the first Mickey Mouse sponsor, right? Mickey Mouse from 1914 onwards. They did that for several decades. They became Timex somewhere around the 50s. Again, before that, they were known as the Waterbury Clock Company. In 1950, again, this is all this stuff is amazing. They figured out how to mass produce high quality movements, such that at the end of the 50s, 1 of every 3 watches sold was a Timex.
Wow.
Which, I mean, think about
and this
the
is worldwide.
Share. This is worldwide, yes.
Yeah.
And think about the market share they have.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's insane. Takes a lick and keeps on ticking.
Yeah.
That came out in the late 50s. Great slogan.
Yeah.
I mentioned them before, they spelled the demise for other companies that were trying to make mechanical watches. They were making them so cheap that they ate everybody else's lunch.
Right.
They killed off all of these people. But then the quartz crisis hit. And, so now cheap mechanicals, now you're being flooded with cheap Japanese quartz. And this is when they lost their footings. I did not know this. They went into the computer market and some other kind of odd markets to try to find their way. Mm-hmm. They never did. But then in the 80s, they came out with the Iron Man, the triathlon.
Yeah.
Remember that watch? And I was like, I remember that watch. So they came out with now they're back in quartz.
Yeah.
They're doing digital quartz. They do great. And then in the 90s, they came out with this awesome thing called Indiglo, which totally blew people away. That's the thing where you press the button, the whole face light's a nice color, battery operated.
Until now, lighted watch dials were really hard to see in the dark. But the Indiglo nightlight from Timex is so dramatically brighter. Nighttime will never be the same.
So I think they lost their footing, they floundered, and then they really came back strong 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And then I want to say, it's my opinion again, that they're in the floundering period now. Now, don't take floundering with they're not making money. They're making a hand over fist. But I feel like, and you were saying it before, they reintroduced the Marlin.
Yeah.
And then they reintroduced the Marlin 6 other different ways.
Right.
Right? Because, this one really well. They reintroduced the Q from the 70s.
Yes.
They reintroduced the Q 20 different ways. They just started with the Pac-Man watch. They bring that back out. There's another watch coming out that I can't mention that I know is coming based on a very popular arcade game. That's going to come out. And I just feel like they're either cheap quartz watches now or they're just rebirths of stuff that they kind of already did. I don't see any more innovation happening. I think the innovation that they're going through right now is realizing that the stuff that they sold from the 40s through the 70s was popular and that they can just repackage it and resell it. And price notwithstanding, a lot of people argue that they're quite expensive. They are. Because it's not a Timex movement inside. It's some kind of Asian movement, a little hand cranker that's in there. But I feel like they are nowhere near the company that they used to be. Again, not that they're not successful. They are successful. But right now they're just being successful, just rebranding their old styles.
Did you? What do you make of the Navy Harbor?
Decent. It's, I guess they kind of tried to modernize a little bit. I can tell you from a sales perspective, it doesn't sell well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
I can tell you
I really
that
liked one. I bought one. I liked it. I reviewed it.
Did you?
For affordable quartz, kind of Submariner, but yet with its own little style.
Yeah, a little different looking. Yeah. But the problem is that it's the price. So Navy Harbor is a nice watch. I'm not going to argue with you. But what does it cost? It's under 200, 180 or something. Whereas, what should it really be? Again, we're in a little watch world here. We know what this watch really should be, selling for. So I think that kind of hurts it a bit. The Marlin selling for $249 for a little hand wind cranker. When I just told you they were making watches for $1.
Right. Yeah.
120 years ago. So even with inflation, 120 years, $1 doesn't turn into $250.
So, what period would you say was your favorite of Timex?
Ooh, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Iron Man and Indigo period. Because I think that, those watches, again, I'm born in 76.
Right.
So those are watches I grew up with. Not that you grew up with the 1950s Seamaster,
no.
but but they're watch that I remember, seeing them on TV.
Yeah.
It takes a lick and keeps on ticking. The Indiglo, when those first came out, I was like, oh, that's so cool. You press a button, it lights up. So I think that's kind of what I relate to, and that's what I consider Timex. I really don't consider Timex a mechanical company when I first think of them in my brain.
Yeah. Also, it's a very American company. Like I think of Iron Man, and I think of. I've seen it in so many films.
It's a knockaround watch. It's their G-Shock,
right? Yeah,
if you will, right?
Exactly. I have to say their marketing of they put Rocky Marciano
punching.
Yeah, to prove how tough it was.
Takes a licking.
Exactly. And I think that there's one where they sellotaped it to. It might be. Don't think it was Babe Ruth, but a famous baseball player's.
Oh, on the back.
Yeah. I mean, this was what?
Yeah.
40, 50 years before G-Shock.
Yeah, at this point it's about, yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah. It's fantastic stuff. Great. I'm really happy you chose Timex.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
I liked it. Even though I sell them, don't want to knock them. Good watches, but
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea anymore.
I have to say they do pay attention to the watch enthusiast.
Big time.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yep.
So Timex, nice one there, because they see what's working, they do more of it,
and they jump on it.
Right, my next one, I've totally lost count. I think I'm on.
You're on 3.
I'm on 3. Okay, so this is Longines or Longines. Okay. I apologize. All right, whichever. Who cares? Massively old. 1832. I got written here. Now part of the Swatch Group. I don't think that's the issue. Not an issue with me.
No.
A lot of my favorite watches of theirs is like the 1931 Lindbergh, very kind of influential, forgotten about aviation watch. They had the legendary 13ZN chronograph movement in World War II. They were part of the Dirty Dozen. A lot of military watches during both conflicts. Then 1954 they introduced the Conquest collection, the flagship collection 1957, the compressor divers of the 1970s,
nice.
which is just gorgeous, which they brought back nicely. 2003 the Evidenza, 2005 the Master collection. Probably the most impressive recent achievement is in 2010 the column wheel chronograph, the I think it's the L688, or if I'm wrong I'll add a notation, but really, really cool stuff. Now, since 2015, not really anything. A nice amount of reissues.
Right.
And they have this kind of classy image. I mean, they've been sponsored and associated with the equestrian sport since forever. So the brand still emotes this classy kind of sophisticated air. They have ambassadors like Kate Winslet and all this stuff. And I love their designs. They're very tastefully done, and they have a rich heritage to pull from. But I think they've devalued themselves by becoming this kind of buy-it-in-the-mall watch, which is, we both know, is not the future of of selling. And they took advantage, rightfully so, because I'm sure in the 90s and up until the last decade, that's been the big money way to sell watches.
Right.
But it has oversaturated the market, and they've lost a bit of that exclusivity, you know?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's it. That's very simple. You know?
Right.
There's not much to it. What are your thoughts on Longines?
Kind of the same. I do dig a lot of their compressor style watches.
Yeah.
Really,
gorgeous.
Really nice. That's the one that kind of comes to my brain. And then immediately when you said the brand, I thought horse jumping.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god! I'm like, that's where you see their advertisements at all times. And like another brand, I'm actually going to mention later. The whole saturation thing is a big problem, because if a company thinks that, like you said, that malls are the future, and then you have a pandemic like we just had, they're all going to be sitting on stock. And where's the stock going to go? Well, you know where it's going to go. It's just going to wind up online, and then the brand gets devalued and loses, as you said, it loses that classy edge to it, which doesn't mean the watches are any. No. It's a dichotomy. It's a fight in your head, because it doesn't mean the watches are any less good, but I feel like, wow, they're everywhere now. They're in every online store now, and it's kind of like you said, it loses a little bit of that edge that you liked before.
And I have to say, especially to the viewers out there, don't think that I'm knocking your Longines. If you have a Longines and you love it and enjoy it, that's absolutely fine. I just think they were better before. It's very, very simple. I think the watches are great. They're lovely. I need to review more of them. I haven't reviewed one for donkey's years, but yeah. I'm glad to have your kind of input on this, because you know how the industry works from that perspective. So
there was actually, I'll plug my own video.
Okay, yeah.
I just did a video. I just did a video. Whenever this comes out, but
the grey market.
It came out on the 21st.
Excellent video.
And it's a gray market from the vendor's perspective. Why does a vendor choose to go gray market as opposed to, the open market or the authorized market? And I talk about a lot of that stuff, and so I just want to plug.
Fantastic videos, guys. Video. Check it out. I'll leave it
was fun to
card.
do.
Actually, it'll be this side because there's more space. But there you go.
Cool.
Fantastic. Right, back to you.
Off we go. So here we go. Ready? Woo! So again, nothing wrong with this brand. If you have a watch and you love it, as long as you have a watch and you're happy, I am happy for you. Invicta. Okay. So, and again, nothing wrong with the brand, but I feel like they've had some stumbles. They are successful as all hell, and there is no denying that fact.
Yeah.
They are still successful. When I go to the watch shows, when there were watch shows, isn't that sad? I was just thinking, 2 years ago I was in Basel. I'm never going back there.
No.
Because Basel's basically canceled.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever go. I've never been.
How sad.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Their booth was tremendous. Multi-story booths. I mean, crazy. Anyway, so this maybe not a lot of people know. Very old name. Founded in 1837. Okay? Clearly not the same company it was back then, right? But in 1932, they invented and patented their own automatic movement, which is really cool watchmaking. Then they kind of fall off the radar. They go very quiet. Not much is going on. Quartz crisis kind of killed them, mid-70s to the 80s. I don't know if they went bankrupt or whatever, but all of a sudden, in 1990, the name comes back.
Right.
And now, I don't believe that the people owning it right now have anything to do with the Swiss watchmakers from 170 years ago. It's a family. So they come back and they introduce the Pro Diver, which is like...
I've reviewed it,
yeah, which is like if the SNKL23 is the gateway drug for Seikos, this is a gateway drug for watches. I mean, kind of modeled after a sub.
Yeah.
But it was a great little automatic dive watch that people could own for not a lot of scratch.
Yeah.
Very popular. They did great by it. And
sorry, yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
This has just popped into my mind. Was it technically the first homage?
I would, it's a very good question, and I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, it probably is.
Did they invent the homage watch?
Could you imagine if they did? They're the homage pioneers.
Well, in that case, they
like,
got nothing but respect from me because that's genius. It's like someone has to have.
And right,
Yeah.
I would think so. That's doing homages before they were popular. So they went through the 90s and they released a whole bunch of different watches. In 2000, they came out with the Lupa. Do you remember the Lupa?
No.
Okay, kind of like a tank case chronograph watch. They had the Lupa, the baby Lupa. They were just really...
Lupa?
I don't want to say really nice. Lupa, Lupah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Invicta means invincible. That
Yes,
I know.
yeah, I can see the Latin etymology in it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, look it up later. It's a cool,
Lupa,
it's an
interesting.
interesting looking chrono. But it was cool. It was different. Again, I think that was one of their strong points. I feel that they jumped the shark, if you will, and I can kind of feel it. In 2001, that's when they really went Shop NBC.
Yeah.
Shop NBC exists. Shop NBC, for people that don't know, was like QVC. They were one of the first. Shop NBC, I don't think exists anymore, right?
I have
Are they
no
like
idea.
a different name now or whatever?
There is not a true watch collector out there that's going on vacation and taking one watch. I'm sorry. Okay. I just got to say. I would take one watch because I don't want to pack more than one. I would take one really, Most of the people I know, the only way they're going somewhere with one watch is jail.
But they were really big into watches. And to market yourself on Shop NBC, you had to show a ridiculously high manufacturer, retail price.
Right.
And then slash, $1,000 up here, yours for $95.
Yeah.
Three easy payments of 31 or 32, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, I did bring show and tell. I own an Invicta. I own an Invicta pocket watch. I can't believe you don't. Do you have a pocket watch?
Not here. I do.
Oh, I was going to say, you are the kind of guy that definitely carries around a pocket watch with your cane top hat and monocle. My wife got me this for our first wedding anniversary in 2002.
It's very, very nice, very classic.
Dude, the thing still works. It's still going. Very classy, right? But this was around the time that I feel that they all of a sudden, took a downfall. I'll give you a little insider info. Traditionally, this is way traditional. Don't think that this is in effect now. Jewelry pricing used to be either what they called keystone or triple keystone. Keystone is a doubling of cost to sell. Triple was a tripling of cost to sell. Okay? Invicta changed that thought process. And they put in a totally different multiplier, which is way, way higher than 3. It's extremely up there. Won't give the number, but it's very, very up there, so they can do the $1,000 watch. Say it's 50% off. Take an additional 25% off. Then they're selling it for $1,000 watch. They're selling it for $250, and they're still making a pretty decent profit. And that's where I feel like Shop NBC, they became so popular that they had to produce like crazy amounts, and that's where a lot of the quality issues started happening.
Right.
I feel like they lost their footing, lost their way. You hear Invictum, sometimes people call.
Oh, that's genius.
Misprintings on the dial, names upside down, hands off, blah, blah. And it happens with every brand, but I feel like they had a lot of growing pains. Not to say that they don't make really cool watches. The Constantine Shaken, the Joker watch with the two eyeballs.
Yeah.
They make their own version called the Joker. Invicta does. And it's pretty cool looking, and it's not that expensive. And if you like the look, then they've homaged it for you.
Yeah.
But I feel like from what they were when they started, I just feel that they're a different brand.
Yeah.
A different brand today.
I think also it's the only brand that I think of I've seen being sold in huge quantities at gas stations.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Isn't that a petrol station?
Sorry, yes, yeah, petrol station. Yeah.
I've never seen one I guess we go to different petrol stations, but
driving from Philly to New York. Yeah,
oh, okay, like rest stops.
Yeah. Sorry, is that a rest stop? Yeah.
That's crazy. I never thought about that.
Yeah, you see that when I think of Invicta, I think of the first thing I think of is gargantuan.
Yes, oversized 55, 60 millimeter watches.
Yeah, very loud and flashy. Obviously not my stuff. And then the second thing I think about is the classical 1940s little chronographs, the old Invicta.
Yes,
You
the
know?
real Invicta.
Do you think they'll
if you
ever go
will.
back to that?
Nope.
Why not? Just
Absolutely
they're
not.
making money with what they're doing. Yeah.
It's all about
All about the
it's
Benjamins.
all about scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, they did for a time make it was called Invicta Reserve. It was Swiss. They did have a Swiss made factory,
Yeah.
a Swiss factory. Obviously, a lot of their stuff is manufactured over in Asia. They had a Swiss factory. I don't know if they still do, but there was a time when they were still making Swiss watches.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think there's any relation to the original family now. I think it's just a namesake.
At least taking some of that profit and buying, rescuing them and keeping them going was a good
You
move.
know, you just killed my.
Oh,
what the hell's wrong with
all
you,
right,
man?
all right. You know what? I'll bleep that out, and then I'll leave it as a surprise. All right?
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, cool. I'm so glad you mentioned them because I don't think I'm qualified to talk about them because
I've thought about selling them in the past. I have thought about it.
You
and-
need to be an industry insider to really explain the story.
right.
You know.
Yeah, it's not. Honestly, it's not my cup of tea or my cup of coffee. It's just not my way of doing business. But I'm very happy for. Again, I'm happy for anybody that can make a watch that doesn't break, and they make some money doing it. That's all we're trying to do.
It's like you so rightly said. It's a gateway watch. So many people get into this hobby because of it. So we should be thankful. You know.
No, yeah, like I said, I just feel like, again, much like every other brand I've said so far,
Yeah.
they just lost their way.
So Gerard Perego. So
Very nice.
For those I'm not familiar, it's a haute horology Swiss manufacturer, famous for their historic tourbillons with the 3 bridges, hence their logo.
Definitely.
I don't even know where to. I wanted to ask if you could explain how their constant escapement works, because
Don't even. That's way beyond. That's way beyond anything that I understand how it works. Yeah,
basically,
I'm sorry.
it's a revolutionary way of very effectively maintaining the power.
a torque.
Yeah.
It's flattening out the torque curve of the mainspring. I mean, I can tell you what it does.
No, that's
It's,
fine. You know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it.
historically, watchmakers have tried everything. Do you remember those chain fusee?
Yeah,
things?
definitely.
Yeah,
Yep. Like on Atmos.
Right.
Yeah.
All kinds of different contraptions to try and solve this problem. Well, they did.
Yeah.
When was it? It was. Let me just have a look here. I have to find. 2008. So fairly recently. Now I like Gerard Perego. They got some great watches. The Laureato. It's a gorgeous watch.
Yes.
Laureato, gorgeous watch. A lot of their older classic dress watches, very, very classy, beautifully made. They're a capable company, and they recently, I think just a couple of weeks ago, they signed a new deal with Aston Martin, a partnership.
Yeah. No, they've always been a very big racing brand.
Yeah. And were they something to do with Ferrari? I think at one point.
Yeah, I do. I believe so as well.
So they're still going, but they suffer from a similar problem to Longines, where they flooded the grey market, which you talked about a couple of days ago, and really devalued their brand to such an extent. If you're buying one, it's great because you can get fairly decent, affordable.
Just don't buy it in a store.
Yeah, don't buy in a store. There are great, on the used market, vintage offerings, all of the rest of it, but they don't retain their value well. And I think that's due to the devaluation of just flooding the grey market.
That's a very good point. And you didn't bring that up with Longines. It kills your resale.
Yeah.
If you're buying for, hopefully one day to flip it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you buy it at retail when they're not on the gray, and then 2 years later you go to flip it, and the watch you spent $10,000 for is selling for $6,000 online?
Yeah, exactly. Started in 1791, right? Which is
That's getting up there as one of the oldest watchmakers.
really, really old.
That predates Breguet. Predates a lot of people.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, Breguet's 18 something.
I did not know that. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And such a long legacy to pull from. I feel like since that escapement, what have they really? I'm not aware of anything they've done that's
I haven't even seen them come up in anything that I look at or do. So I would say not much.
Yeah, it's just I want them to do something. I want them to
Right.
make something that I want, that I'm gonna salivate and stalk on eBay and, you know, do the
Right.
whole watch thing.
Right.
I think that's why they were better before. It's fairly simple.
It's fine. Yeah.
Any more thoughts on Gerard Perego?
Really? The three bridges.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully you put up a picture of that watch.
Yes, I will.
Beautiful. I mean, talk about difficult stuff to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something else, man.
Yeah, and that,
Love that stuff. That's watchmaking.
exactly, and that's what makes it a little bit sad. Is like you can do these things. You've done these
Right.
things.
Right.
Let's, you know, why is the conversation always Patek, AP, Rolex?
Right.
Always.
Right.
You know, and we could have even put Vacheron Constantin on this list.
Yeah, I was saying, they're one of the holy three, right?
Yeah.
VC, Patek, and I don't know.
VC, Patek, and AP. Yeah.
AP,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Rolex, which always boggles my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Sorry about this.
That's okay. As long as they're not coming to your building, you're fine.
Exactly. Right, back to you. Is this your last
My
one?
numero uno,
Yeah.
It's my numero uno, which you kindly made. I would say, how many of my brands did you out already on me? I think 3.
I'm so sorry. Man.
Can I tell you, it was just funny that just a little background. You know, when we talked about this video, and you were like, "Oh, I woke up in the middle of the night. I had this great idea. This is what we're going to do." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." And I gave you my brands,
Yeah.
and then I was waiting for your reply. And I'm like, you know, I wonder what his brands are going to be. And I'm like, I bet you I'm going to need like a coat with tails for his brands. And sure enough, man, I got your email and I was like, oh, here we go. Talk about two sides of the coin.
Yeah. Okay.
My last one, Glycine.
Nice.
Is what you had mentioned before, which again, I think they're amazing watches. I could carry them because I can get them from anyone pretty much. Founded in 1914, excellent Swiss brand. Obviously, I think most of us know them for the Airman. Mm-hmm. It came out in the 50s. It was worn by U.S. Air Force folks. It was worn in the Vietnam War. One of them did go into space.
Yeah.
So just a great company. Beautiful watch. Talk about beautiful pilot's watches. I mean, you know, they have triple time zone watches. Just really, really good.
Yeah.
But then what the hell happened? As you mentioned before, in 2016, they were bought by Invicta. Now, obviously, Invicta had enough coin, you know, stored away to make this purchase. So probably a pretty big purchase. I don't know what the value was. And the way it goes is Invicta, as we mentioned, was really flooding the shopping market. You know, basically every watch was under a few $100. They needed something from the $500 to a few $1,000 range. So, you know, you do it. You know, if you're not going to do it, no one's going to buy a $5,000 Invicta, right? So you buy another company. You know, you assimilate another company. So they bought Glycine. Problem is that they use their same retail channels and same distribution channels that they use for Invicta now carry Glycine.
Yeah.
I don't think Invicta is really doing anything for Glycine other than owning it and you know,
this is
shoving out their watches.
Yeah.
I think Glycine is still their own Swiss company. But they're obviously producing way too many because you can get them, I can get them from almost anybody. It's a very simple brand to gray market. It's all, so basically the bottom line is it's all over the gray market.
Yeah.
And what better example than this morning as I was working, an email came in from a Glycine authorized dealer. He had some kind of Airman, whatever it was, $895. I was like, oh, not bad, nice looking watch.
$895, right.
$895.
Right.
Go to my friend Google. I type in the part number just to see. Sells it. They're out of stock on it for $275.
Are we allowed to say?
Well, you'll bleep it out if you
All right.
don't want to. I don't care. But my point is that why would you spend $895 at an authorized dealer when, let's say you get it and you wear it for a few months and you decide you're going to flip it on eBay.
Yeah.
What are you going to get for it? $200 now?
Yeah.
You can't. You just lost all this money. So I feel like you said before, just saturating the gray market.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just dumbing down the price. And really no one's making any money anymore. And Glycine's still making money, but that's about it.
Yeah. The only good thing is that I haven't seen any difference in or decrease in quality.
I would say that is a very correct statement.
Yeah.
A very correct statement.
And also there is this misconception that some of the designs of the newer Airmans have been Invictified. And I don't think so, because I really carefully looked, and they were, before the buyout,
Right.
They were trying to do new, more contemporary designs, which were just huge and hideous, basically, right?
Right.
Not the traditional Airman. So that was part of that. It wasn't, anything to do with Invicta. I don't think it's just the selling and distribution, like you said.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just totally, and that's, Invicta is taking care of all of that part of it. And that, I feel like that's the part of it that is just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That to me, declassies the brand.
Right.
Right? Is that okay? Declassy? And I verbed again.
Is that a real word?
No. Come on. Declassify would be, but that's a totally different meaning.
It made the brand a little bit more déclassé.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how you put that. There you go.
So that was your number one, right?
Yeah, I'm a done. I'm
gonna go with my number one, and
shoot.
I should. What's the word?
Preface it.
Preface it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You want to preface every brand because you don't want to seem like you're bashing it.
No, actually, I want to preface it with something that is close to my heart, and this is probably why it's my number one. Not that we were doing it in descending order of importance, but so British watchmaking, right? And just to put it in perspective, right, was at the height in the 1800s, right?
Okay.
And they were producing 50% of the world's clocks. Well, the watches didn't exist then, but pocket watches, marine chronometers, mantle clocks, any kind of timing instrument. And it is also forgotten that Robert Hooke created the first balance spring in 1664. Harrison with his chronometer. We all know the story, the wonderful story. There was, I think was it Thomas Mudge? I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Mudge with the first lever escapement.
I believe you're correct.
Then, if you really want to go back in history, in Salisbury Cathedral, you can still go and see it today, is one of the oldest mechanical clocks to still be working.
Cool. Love that stuff.
Yeah, and so it's just funny how monks were the first people to create clocks, mechanical. Right. Yeah. It's crazy how
got to pray on time.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just so funny. So a lot of the early innovations in watchmaking happened in Britain.
Cool.
Today, the watchmaking industry that hardly exists. I mean, you got Bremont, you got a handful of British companies, and it's really sad because, if you want to talk horology, right? Like for the longest time, Great Britain was really thundering ahead. I think the Germans also get a bit kind of forgotten, and the Dutch. Christian Huygens, I can never say his name. Right now, doesn't really exist. But there was one brand I wanted to talk about, and it's Smiths. Are you familiar with Smiths?
I know the rebirth of Smiths.
Yeah, there you go.
That's probably the only Smiths I know.
Yeah. So there's Smiths now, and then there's Smiths before. I don't know anything about the current Smiths and how the ownership happened, but I do know about the old Smiths, and it's two totally different things. There was a period of kind of hibernation in the middle, I believe. Right. So Smiths you'd find this actually fascinating because they were an engineering firm for a very, very long time, and they got a contract from the British Ministry of Defence during World War II, because as the Germans had basically become masters of Europe, Great Britain was on its own, this little collection of islands. So they wanted to create their own. They didn't want to depend on a lot of the Swiss, So they hired Smiths and I think a bunch of other companies to create Smiths Clock and Watch Company, right? Cool. And you'll see their clocks in every single Spitfire cockpit, in every, it turns up everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Now, post-war, they lost their biggest customer, so they had to diversify into making, watches for the civilian market, and they did a good job all the way up until, I think, what killed them was the quartz crisis, obviously, and competition from Switzerland. They just couldn't compete. Right. Now, there's still a ton of vintage Smiths out there. They are very classically styled, English style, restrained, understated, beautiful. Right. Really, really rock solid. So so reliable that Sir Edmund Hillary famously took one up Everest. It was that and the pre-Explorer Oyster Perpetual that was to become the Explorer, right? So he took one of those up there, and essentially it was a dress watch. It was the I think it was the what was it? Smith's Deluxe, and some of them were cased by Denison, which was another kind of prestigious case maker. They made cases for Rolex. I'm not even sure if they're still going, but anyway, a whole era of watchmaking doesn't exist anymore.
When did they kind of hibernate?
I'm guessing because I haven't seen anything since the 70s, I think. So
Okay.
it was just around this quartz crisis. So I haven't seen any.
Okay.
And then of course they come back and they're owned by, I think, Time Factors now, and they do some really good watches.
Yes.
But the Everest is a strange homage to the 1016 Rolex.
Sure.
Which is a bit bizarre. You think you'd homage but I guess you want to sell the watch.
The actual Smith's watch,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, hey, yeah, got it. Makes sense.
I've bought and owned a modern Smiths.
Smiths.
Thank you. And I've bought and owned the old one, and it's just
Right.
you feel that connection to the history, and
Yeah. You're longing for the olden
I
days.
think I am. This is like a therapy session.
Yeah. This is good for you. You talk it out.
Thank you.
I'll send you a bill.
Yeah, it's funny. I've only just realized that every single brand, I'm just longing for the old days.
Right. Well, I mean, in a way, kind of all of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, don't get me wrong. Some of the new Smiths are nice, but they got a Seiko, I think Seiko movement in there or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's just not the same as something.
Like I said, that's a big. It's not a problem, but where the hell else are you going to get an inexpensive mechanical movement? Timex doesn't make them anymore.
Yeah,
It's either going to be a Miyota or it's going to be a Seiko. Yeah, I mean, or it's going to be a Seagull.
Yeah,
There's no one else that makes automatic movements. You're kind of stuck.
yeah. There is I believe a company in the UK who owns smithswatches.com, and they specialize in repairing and maintaining them. So
Okay.
if you do get a vintage model, you can still
They can do it.
which is nice. It kind of keeps the legacy alive, which is
Alive a little bit.
it's not the end. Yeah,
Right. It's just close to it.
Yeah. Right. I feel very. Yeah.
There you go.
So that was it, right? That's
it. I did my 5. You did your 5. 5 and 5 is 10.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I think that was really, really enjoyable.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, do add your top brands you feel were better before in the comments. I'm really looking forward to reading that. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a very interesting topic.
It is. And also, I got to thank Marc for sponsoring today's video series. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there, or we are going to leave it there. Please don't forget to like this video. Also, check out Marc's channel, link down below, and subscribe. Let's get the clock up for next the counter. Sorry, for next month. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Marc.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.